Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. My name is Amanda Pyburn. I'm a member here and will be your service leader this morning. We gather on the unceded lands of the Muskogee Nation of Florida. We are grateful for the land and those who tended it before us. If you're visiting today, you'll find more information about us on the back of your order of service or on our webpage, uufec.com. We look forward to visiting with you after the service. Unitarian Universalism is a religion marked by freedom, reason, and acceptance. We were all strangers once, but have found a home here where our views are respected, our questions are thoughtfully considered, and our presence is always welcome. Announcements are also listed in your order of service. We have quite a few important things coming up, and we also have an announcement by our president of the congregation, Deborah.
Hey, it's been a busy week, and I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to celebrate our fathers and our father figures today, even though it's not Father's Day yet, but we're going to honor our fathers and our Father's Day. So please join us after the service. We will have no second hour classes today, and we will just be eating and enjoying each other's company. So thank you for that.
You'll notice that we're also looking for photos of the fellowship to share at the new members service on June 22nd, and that next Saturday is the No Kings Rally in Fort Walton Beach Landing if you're interested. So as Deborah said, even if this is your very first time here, even if you forgot to bring a dish, plan to stay and enjoy some food and fellowship after the service. So last week, Stephanie Logan spoke about the need to give grace to ourselves and others so we can survive life's struggles and be our best selves. Today's service builds on that idea, creating care groups, self-help, but focusing on play and joy as we move through life. This is an intergenerational service. I don't see a lot of kids, but if any others come in, we'll let them know they'll be staying in the whole time. So get ready for some play this morning. The prelude prepares us for the service. Lorelei is going to light our chalice. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love. And it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. Please stand in body or in spirit to join in singing Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, 361 in the gray hymnal, or the words are up front. time for all ages. And Lorelai, you are welcome to stay where you are if you like, or you can come on up if you want. It is for all ages after all. Oh, look, there we go. So whoever, wherever, you're good. Oh, all right, all right. Ta-da. We're all in your heart, right? Oh. It's going to involve everybody anyway. There we go. So there are no stories that, or no pictures that go with this story, and you will find out why at the end. Once upon a time, there was a little teeny tiny itty bitty, very teensy weensy little god named Tiny. She lived her life hearing stories about all the big gods, and she was jealous. She knew she needed some kind of special spark of an idea that would make her existence meaningful. After watching humans for a long time, she hit upon something that just might work. Something to make people think, yeah, that Tiny's got a good idea going. This was it. It was going to make her famous too. Ready? Here it is. You are not alone. She took the form of a very light breeze, and in a voice so quiet, each person only heard it in their mind, she said, "You are not alone. You are not alone." People loved it. It was perfect, because who doesn't want to hear that? Pretty soon, Tiny was comforting people all over the world with, "You are not alone." Every evening, she took the form of the breeze and whispered it in people's minds. But you know, every story has a problem, right? Otherwise, there's not much of a story. So here it is. One day, she encountered someone who was not comforted by that at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words in her mind, instead of feeling warm and fuzzy, she felt agitated. Something was just kind of off about it. She kept saying it to herself over and over. You are not alone. You are not alone. She tossed and turned. She couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to her phone to scroll through the news, but instead of just, scrolling on and on like we do, she found herself stopping and really reading every single article. And in no time, she found herself crying. I am not alone, she said. I am connected to all of these people. They live in my town and my country and my world. They are scared, and so am I sometimes. They hurt like I hurt. I am not alone, but I can help. Tiny was surprised. It hadn't occurred to her somebody might think of it that way. Tiny kept watch over Miriam to monitor this interesting development. Miriam and a coworker met online at a meeting and talked about a law they hoped the Senate would pass. And Tiny noticed when Miriam wrote a letter to her senator right away. She noticed that when Miriam bought groceries, she got a few extra things to put in the little free pantry for anyone who needed it. She noticed that Miriam had tears in her eyes when she joined in her congregation's worship online and heard her favorite hymn through those little speakers. Miriam got out her phone and made an extra contribution to the church. She watched as Miriam wrote postcards to friends and family and political events, near and far, but most importantly, for Tiny, she noticed when Miriam got a phone call one evening from a friend she hadn't heard from in a long time. His voice was shaking. I'm having a hard time, he said. He started to tell her about his troubles, but he began to cry. Miriam got herself comfortable in her favorite chair. Take your time. I will stay on the line with you as long as you need. You are not alone. I am here for you. I am here. Tiny heard those words like an echo in her mind. You are not alone. I am here. Say it with me. You are not alone. I am here. In that moment, Tiny knew she was nothing without Miriam's hands and heart and spirit. And she knew that what she wanted more than anything, what the world needed more than anything, was what Miriam had learned to give. So Tiny went to work. Instead of just spending her evenings spreading the gospel of you are not alone, she spent her night times doing it too, and her mornings and her afternoons, every minute, until pretty soon she became the breeze itself. And that is why there are no pictures. You can't picture a breeze, can you? There are no paintings of Tiny, no statues or holy books like the other gods have. Just a breeze, a low voice, and many, many helping hands, loving hearts, and caring spirits. You can hear the echo too if you listen closely. You are not alone. I am here. Your turn. You are not alone. I am here. When water bottles are left in the desert for those who risk their lives to cross it, you are not alone. I am here. At the bedside of a dying person, you are not alone. I am here. In the jailhouse and the sanctuary, you are not alone. I am here. With a friend who's having a hard time, you are not alone. I am here. May it be so. Thank you for listening. The sharing of joys, milestones, and concerns is a tradition in our fellowship. You're welcome to come up, drop a glass pebble into the water, either silently or while speaking a few words into the microphone. This shares our joys and helps us support each other in sorrows. Please remember to a reading by Teresa Honey Youngblood called Blessed Are the Magic Makers. One glorious spring day, I was on a field trip with a group of middle school kids, venturing a short way down the Florida National Scenic Trail. We were aiming for a swimming hole, about a mile in on a new section of trail, but about halfway there, we heard and then saw an arresting sight ahead. 2 large eastern diamondback rattlesnakes, who upon hearing us come around the bend had coiled their very considerable bulk and were making a bone-chilling sound with their impressive tails, their heads held aloft half a foot off the ground. We felt awed to have seen them, but still, after waiting in vain for them to move along, we had to turn back and go back the way we came, trying to find another way to get to the swimming hole. But the next path we found was through a section of grass that, while free of venomous serpents, was full of very large, very sharp sand spurs. You all know them, right? We've all had them stuck in us. A fact that we somehow missed until we had our whole group about halfway in. We could see the main path to the swimming hole up ahead, but we had to pick our way through the spurs to get there. Behind us, of course, were the rattlesnakes. In our homegrown and Charybdis, what did the youth do? They started playing. A few of the more athletic kids sprinted ahead and then cheered the rest of us on as they picked the spurs out of their socks and skin. As one made her way all the way through that pokey grass, she took off her tennis shoes and tossed them back to a classmate wearing flip-flops. A few held hands in a vertical line and danced their way through, the first one saving those behind from the brunt of the spurs. Neurochemically, panic and euphoria are kissing cousins, not too different. Blessed are the magic makers, often our children and youth, and some lucky adults who retain the charm, who can transmute one into the other in the most unexpected and needed moments. We'll now have a few moments of silent meditation or prayer. After our song of dedication, the greeters will take up the offering. Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our fellowship is supported by those pledges and donations. As always, if you're paying your pledge with a check, make a note of that on the memo line. Unmarked checks and cash in the offering plate will be shared equally with a local charity. For the month of June, our Share the Plate partner is PFLAG of Niceville. PFLAG meets in our building, and as you've heard, we share many events and experiences. It's a welcoming place for all those who love their LGBTQ+ friends and family members and want to support them in the best ways possible. It's joyful, right? Our sermon today is presented by Jennica Davis-Hockett, UUA Youth and Emerging Adult Ministry staff. Jennica has worked in religious education and youth ministry since 2008. She is passionate about creating multi-generational communities of care that center young people, especially young people with marginalized identities, those going through life's transitions, and those experiencing any kind of challenge. She is the lead for Deeper Joy, games, activities, and practices for community builders. I had never heard of this, but it really is amazing. If you go to the UUA website and just look for Deeper Joy, there is this massive list of games and activities just meant to bring people closer together and to get to know each other, suitable for any group. At the end of this sermon, we are actually going to play one of those. She's going to introduce it, and you're going to think, oh, it passed by in the video and we didn't get to do it. You will. So, Jennica Davis-Hockett.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennica Davis-Hockett. I use she, her pronouns. I've got long, wavy brown hair, glasses, white skin, orange top, and like orange and blue background with a bookcase. I work in Lifespan Faith Engagement, and we're the office of the Unitarian Universalist Association that asks, what do we teach when we're together as Unitarian Universalists, and how do we teach it? And the how is my favorite conversation to have. And it's the one that I wish I was in person to have with you today. The most exciting way to me that we teach Unitarian Universalism is through direct experience of the kind of world we're trying to co-create. And that is one of joy and liberation and in beloved community. And the way that I get to do that in my work is by sharing about Deeper Joy. And Deeper Joy is a compendium of songs and games and activities and practices for building radically inclusive, accessible, and spiritually grounded communities. So before I get into all of that, I want to tell you about what happened in the lead up to recording this sermon for you. Now, do any of you know who Reverend Leela Sinha is? Okay. Z is an entrepreneurial community minister who wrote a book called You're Not Too Much. And Z taught me a new way to think about procrastination. So instead of my usual creative process, which is to be really harsh with myself and berate myself for not getting to the work until right before the deadline and then sprinting hard up until the final moments, which isn't even shallowly joyful of an experience, Z taught me that I could admit to myself that I know just how much time it's going to take to complete a project and then carve out just that amount of time before a deadline to do the thing. And then, and this is key, use the time that I would usually spend on berating myself to engage in rest and play. I loved this method because it moved me away from my internalized oppressive work ethic towards honoring the way that I create and allowing for the creation to be inspired by and responsive to the moment. And this pattern shift dovetails nicely with what I teach around Deeper Joy. So I wanted to try it on. And then, just before the time I allotted to create, just before the deadline, it broke. And after, the voices rushed in. Oh, I shouldn't have been so lazy. Now I have an emergency and I have to pull an all-nighter to get this sermon done. And there is so much out of my control. I should have been more prepared. And has anything like that ever happened to you? When you're trying to break a pattern, you're trying to do something new, you're trying to make a change, and then wham, reality floods you, pun intended, with a bunch of reasons not to change. But at that point, there was no going back. So as I was packing boxes and moving stuff around in the garage to make room, I took some cleansing breaths, and I paused, and I put a hand on my heart, and I thought, I may not have chosen this challenge, but I get to choose the response. So what is the most deeply joyful response? in this emergent moment. And this is how deeper joy rushed up to meet me in this moment. The deeply joyful response for that moment was to address the challenge in community rather than isolation. Now, doing it in isolation actually would have been the path of least resistance. It was a well-worn path, and it was tempting for that reason. It wouldn't require any reliance on others or vulnerability at all. But despite that temptation to try to do it all with no help, I posted to the group chat that we needed help. So do y'all have that, a group chat? Or whatever your version of what I call a care group? Maybe it's a group text or Signal, maybe it's over email, it doesn't matter the format. Maybe it's even your small group ministry or your youth group or your elders group at church. A care group is a small group of people who are important to you, and you know you're important. People that you pinch and who rely on. Care group, that is something not to procrastinate on. Time to build. One principle of deeper joy is that it's not created. Okay, so I've operationalized the principle of growing community by way of the community building map to deeper joy. Okay, so behind me is an illustrated map depicting a variety of enchanting places. It has so much fun detail, like the way the boat's flags are waving at each other in the bonding harbor and how they're drooping lifelessly in the tepid bay. So the locations on the map represent different features of a community based on what the group experiences together. So a leader or a facilitator has a number of choices to make about what experiences they want to offer to the group to shape these desired features. So this is the way we talk about different aspects or features of community building. We believe that community building is nonlinear and responsive, meaning you're going to meet your group wherever it is, and then you're going to take them where they need to go. So you may visit the same location on the map multiple times, and there's no predetermined final destination. You have arrived. So after I sent my Mayday text to my care group, I scanned the Deeper Joy map in my mind to situate my ad hoc moving team, and I located us in the stretching river. Okay, another pun intended. So the stretching river is the place that you end up when you're experiencing trials, when you're problem solving opportunities, and when you have challenges. So these can arise naturally, like maybe in a congregational setting, it's that the minister leaves and a search committee is formed, for example. And in my case, it was a basement flooding. Or they may be manufactured, right? Think of a ropes course or planning a worship service or something that is a growth opportunity. So with a few comrades' help to mitigate the flooded basement, it was really looking like I was going to get the sermon to you by the deadline. I had found a way to resist the old pattern not once, but twice. I interrupted the old pattern of being my own taskmaster or enforcer, first by choosing not to shame myself for my creative process and reclaiming rest and play, and then second, by seeking support rather than sacrificing my well-being to meet a deadline all on my own. And I was doing joy. I was doing joy in the way Nick Montgomery and Carla Bergman define it in their book, Joyful Militancy. They say that joy is, I love this, building the capacity together to get more free. But then I got very sick for a few days and had to ask for an extension anyway. But I was close. I was close to pulling it off in a deeply joyful way, despite the odds. You know, it feels like I am spending a lot of involuntary time in the stretching rivers these days. Does it feel like that to you too? I mean, it seems to be costing more and more just to survive. And for those of us with marginalized identities, that is true even more so. And it can be hard to find joy in times like these. It can even feel frivolous to seek it out. But Another tenet of deeper joy, and the one that I believe most deeply, is that joy is a medicine that fortifies and repairs. Joy is what helps us build thicker connections with one another. And those thicker connections are the foundation of resilient communities. I imagine that could be a reason why some congregations are seeing an uptick in visitors lately, because so many of us within and beyond the congregation's walls or our meeting time are seeking that kind of resilient community. Okay, so let's actually play with this deeper joy thing as a way of experiencing how we teach Unitarian Universalism. So how we teach, that's pedagogy. And the pedagogy of deeper joy is play. Play is how we learn to be human with each other. The first principle of deeper joy is that play and practice are intrinsic to faith development and community building, and that playfulness and fun are good for you. They're good for your wellness, and they're good for your community's vitality. So we're going to play a game, or if you're feeling a bit serious about the ideas of play and joy today, we'll engage in a practice that can help you build your care group. So one feature of a resilient community, something that helps them withstand the rapids of that stretching river, is that they connect with each other on common ground without minimizing their differences. In fact, they know that their differences make them stronger. So in our UU value system, that's what we call pluralism. And on the community building map to deeper joy, we call that common ground area the bonding harbor and the opening up beach. And a game that's in the bonding harbor is called The Mighty Wind Blows. So here's how you play. Okay. So the person who leads, who is the lead first, introduces themselves and then is greeted by the group. And then they pick something about themselves that they might have in common with other members of the group. So here's an example. Hi, I'm Jennica. All y'all say, hi, Jennica. The mighty wind blows for people who have ever dyed their hair a color of the rainbow. And then for everyone for whom that's true, they make an agreed upon noticeable gesture to the lead. And then the lead chooses someone to go next. And that person can either accept or they can pass. And the game ends when everyone who wants to has had a chance to be the lead. Okay, so first, y'all are going to decide as a group what your signal is going to be. And you need to agree on a signal that everyone can recognize. So if there's folks that are hard of hearing, maybe a physical gesture is going to be more accessible than sound. If there are folks with limited mobility, then that gesture needs to be something they can do without compromising themselves in any way. Now, if you've got multiple access needs, and that's common, maybe you choose a physical gesture and a sound so that people can do and catch the signal in whatever way that they can. So feel free to be as big or vocal or silly as y'all want. The important thing is that it's accessible to everyone. Choose your signal now. Okay, I'll be the first lead to demonstrate, and then the first person to do the signal after I demonstrate, they'll be the next lead, and then off you go. So feel free to keep playing until you're ready to move on. It has been a true pleasure to create and share this with you. And I did it. I shifted a pattern towards more joy. And I did it the deeper joy way, through play. Or if you're feeling serious about it today, through practice. Okay. Hi, I'm Jennica. Hi, Jennica. And the mighty wind blows for people who ate breakfast today.
So these things are meant for a small group of people, maybe 5, 6, 7. We're not going to take time to figure out together. I'm going to tell you the signal, or we might be here all morning. Because we need something auditory and visual, it's going to be wave your arm and call out, I am here. Okay, try it. I am here. There you go. So I'm going to start. Hi, I'm Amanda. The mighty wind blows for people who play an instrument. Ooh, how about Amy? She's going to start with, "Hi, I'm Amy." Oh, you just do it there.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Um,
The mighty wind blows for.
the mighty wind blows for anybody who's ever had their
I'm here. Just pick someone who had their hand up. Hi, Karen. I am here. Hi, Judy.
The mighty wind blows for anyone who's going out of town in the next few weeks.
Ooh, I am here.
Oh, Amy, there it is. All right, Jenny. No, let me rescind. Because there was a hand over here. Is there a hand over here? Oh, never mind. That was a test.
Hi, I'm Denny.
Hi, Danny.
And the mighty wind blows for those that, when they drop something, look at it and think, do I really have to?
Hi, Anna.
The mighty wind blows on anyone who enjoys playing in the rain.
Ooh. Hi, Julian.
The mighty wind blows for anyone who is just mesmerized by trees.
Hi, I'm Denny.
Hi, Benny.
And the mighty wind blows for anybody that's crocheting.
Oh, I am here. Last one.
Hi, I'm Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
And the mighty wind blows for anybody who is obsessed with gardening.
Oh, I am here. And I think we'll put a lid on it there, but you can see how all the activities in this Deeper Joy curriculum don't take any preparation, they don't take any stuff, but they help you get to know each other and maybe lead to conversations. And some of them, this was a very simple one, but some of them are a little deeper, opening up kinds of things. And I'm kind of intrigued with the whole idea of, care groups using these activities to get to know each other better. So anyway, there we go. Please stand as you're able to sing our final hymn, Our World is One World, number 134 in the Gray Hymnal. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "It is a happy talent to know how to play." And Tariana Tank Ball said, "Remember to get carried away. To be grounded is for plants." We have some closing words by Reverend Paige Getty. "True pleasure is the force that helps us move beyond struggle, that helps us live and generate futures beyond this difficult present, futures worthy of our miraculous lives. Pleasure is one of the ways we know we are free, that we are always free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Pleasure helps us move through those times that are unfair, through grief and loneliness, through terror, or days when the demands are just overwhelming. Pleasure heals the places where our hearts and spirit get wounded. Pleasure reminds us that even in the dark, we are alive. Pleasure is a medicine for the suffering that is absolutely promised in life." Please stay seated for the postlude. Thank you to Cecile for her music, for Rose for AV, yep, Joshua making the PowerPoint, and all the busy people who are creating this potluck for us. It's raining, so you might as well stay anyway, right? Thank you for coming.